Good morning.
Good morning. It's Joanna Cobley here. How's the reception?
Yeah, this is very good. Thank you, Joanna. Joanna, my name's Dr. Shane Reti. I'm the Deputy Chair of the Health Committee. With me here today, I have MP Angie Warren-Clark. Thank you for calling in this morning on this bill. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead. I'll try and give you a minute's notice as we start getting towards the end, but please go ahead, Joanna.
Thank you. I'll proceed in under 3 minutes, so we're okay with time.
Thank you.
Right, here at Kelso, my submission is from the standpoint of someone who is in the process of setting up a cannabis research incubator. I have interest in growing cannabis, extracting and processing cannabis plants, and producing cannabis products for scientific research, and ultimately for human use. With the backing of Executive Vice Chancellor Research Professor Ian Wright, I was pulled together a team of experts in chemistry, engineering, biological sciences, as well as the Night Covering Research Centre. We've also received excellent advice from the Ministry of Health and ESR, who will be part of our research program. Talent and innovation is also key to our vision. Cannabis researchers are internationally connected and very willing to collaborate. We have connections with Canada and Australia, and Massachusetts criminologist Greg Newgold is interested in the social benefits stemming from possible decriminalisation. The limitation of the misuse of drugs medical cannabis amendment bill is that it doesn't go far enough. We need a new way of looking at the plant and understanding the general well-being benefits from controlled use, and especially the benefits associated with the synthesis of the whole cannabinoid spectrum. The rest of the world has embraced cannabis and are innovating in the medical and well-being space. New Zealand is being left behind. The current legislation is a product of the war on drugs mindset. Helen Clark has said to that. We need to have a paradigm shift and open up conversations regarding innovation, testing and quality control, and research and development. And I'd like to be part of this massive conversation and particularly help not only those in the last year of life, but the tens of thousands of others who benefit from cannabis. But New Zealand's restrictive legislation forces these people to live a very small life. Prohibition risks include bad product. There are snake oil sellers and speculators trading on cancer patient hopes out there. However, importantly, there are many competent, capable, caring, breeders and others who live in the shadows. Cannabis is part of Kiwi culture. It's our heritage. Just like rugby gear and bed biscuits. Normalisation of cannabis is urgently required, and I appreciate having the opportunity to comment on this legislation amendment bill. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Joanna. Thank you very much for a very concise presentation. A question that I have, please, is you say you're part of, we have your submission in front of us, you say you're part of an informally set up cannabis research group at the University of Canterbury. How big is that group and what is the nature of the relationship with the University of Canterbury?
Okay, so what I have at the moment is permission, as I said, from the top level to investigate this research. So I'm just waiting for an appointment with someone to set up an incubator.
Okay, good. Thank you. Angie?
No questions from me, but thank you very much for a very informative submission, and I look forward to speaking with you again in the future. Thank you.
This would be wonderful. I think the main message we would like to get across is that you would love to be involved in deeper conversations.
Joanna, this is a good conversation to have. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Okay, good luck for the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you, David.
We're Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Linda. May I just introduce myself? My name is Dr. Shane Reti, Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. With me I have MP Angie Warren-Clark as well. We have your submission in front of us. Thank you very much for that. You have 5 minutes. The time is yours. I'll give you a heads up with a minute or so to go, but please go ahead, and again, thank you.
Sure. I'm submitting on this bill because in the last 5 years I've lost a niece and 2 sisters to cancer, all different types, and discovered that there's a gap in the pharmacology for effective pain relief. There's some common themes between them. The first is that the chemotherapy is worse than the disease. The nausea and side effects of the drugs result in severe constipation or diarrhea. The medical staff seem to find it very difficult to get a balance of pain there, and it results in an inability to eat, and they become extremely emaciated. Palliative care, a similar story. It's just pain relief with opiates that have awful side effects, and by the time the patient gets, within a few months of death, they look like they've been in Auschwitz. The only effective pain relief in my experience was total sedation, and I will never ever forget one of my sisters crying out to me, help me, help me, in such distress, and I couldn't do anything to help her, and I never want anyone to be in that situation. I understand that cannabis can alleviate symptoms that lead to nausea in some patients, and one of my sisters would have taken it if it had been available. I think it's cruel and it's vindictive to deny sick people a possible treatment that could alleviate stress. It's just punishing them in case someone who isn't sick might use cannabis. This is an ethical issue. Should a person suffer in case another person that's beyond your control breaks the law? And why do we allow our loved ones to suffer so cruelly when we have options not used? I think you really need to get your priorities right here. Firstly, if a patient experiences a psychoactive effect from cannabis, for example, that alleviates the suffering, what does that matter? Because conventional drugs have terrible side effects, and that's supposedly okay. Secondly, if another person gets some limited access to cannabis, that's possible, maybe, why is that more important than reducing the suffering of innocent people? The bill fails. It's really disappointing because it excludes those with other conditions that are not terminal but cause ongoing suffering, such as MS and people with spasming symptoms. It only allows for access to cannabis as available in the black market, and I understand that the black market is often got variants with high THC rather than a therapeutic cannabidiol. There's no way, practically, that patients can get cannabis without help from their friends or family that have no legal defence. Mostly they're dead-ridden and they just can't even do anything. So someone has to help them, and that person is at risk of prosecution. And finally, there's no framework to set up a legal industry for the provision of medicinal cannabis. I think there's 3 specific changes that should be made to the bill. The first one is that Clause 2AB should be brought in to encompass any medical condition where the medical practitioner considers cannabis to be beneficial to the patient, where other options are either ineffective or have serious side effects. Secondly, a nominated support person should be able to have access to the legal defence. And thirdly, you need to include provisions for regulations through ordering council to set up a legal medicinal cannabis industry. Just another point that I really want to make, that this bill should be considered alongside the end-of-life choice bill. If this bill is passed, it may reduce the number of people suffering so badly they choose to end their lives. However, I wish to stress that both reforms are needed and should be made legally available, subject to appropriate safeguards. Thank you.
Linda, this was a very clear and concise presentation. Some of the issues we've touched on as well and will be deliberating on. We also note that there's no requirement for medical practitioners to state that the person will benefit, and we're also talking and hearing about increase and widening of the scope. Angie, any comments from you?
No, I'd just actually like to thank you for your submission, and I appreciate the very, as Shana says, the very clear breakdown of the submission, and I appreciate the work that you've put into it. I do, on a more personal note, I do thank you for sharing the stories you have told us of your family members who have suffered. So thank you.
Linda, a good submission. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a brief question? How with only 2 members of the committee hearing submissions?
Sure. So it's convention that we're actually here to listen rather than answer questions, but I'm happy to address that. As a committee, we decided that to make our way through and give everyone the opportunity to be heard. In some committees we triage, and some who want to be heard actually aren't. We decided that we would look to hear all submissions for those who wanted to be heard, and so this is the structure that we've come to. Okay. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Fine.
Good. Next.
That must be just Nicky, I think. Someone else must have been in.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Andrew. My name's Dr. Shane Reti. I'm the Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. Around the table I have Matt Ducey and Angie Warren-Clark, both MPs. Thank you very much for calling in this morning. You have 5 minutes, Andrew. We have read your submission, so please take it as read. I'll give you an indicator as we get close to time, but again, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to muck around too much. What I'd like to say is I'd like to see the bill extended to include chronic pain sufferers. The quality of life for people in pain is usually very poor and can last for many years, so it seems cruel to deny them a safe, harmless and effective medicine. I think that to extend it to prevent the growing or purchasing or supplying of this obvious medicine is also cruel. I think that the word medicinal cannabis is being used ambiguously, but there's 2 main products, which is medicinal cannabis, which is a processed cannabis product, usually not whole plants, and the other one is a cannabis plant product used medicinally. Those 2 terms, or one term is being completed amongst the community. I think a better solution is just to remove cannabis from the drug schedule and use the current alcohol rules to manage anything that comes from that, manage and modify or modifying those rules to be useful. And that closing the licensing, when it finally comes in, as is happening with hemp and such things in cannabis overseas, closing the licensing allows us to inflate prices, and already Tilray and Cervex are out of most people's range. I think that allowing chronic pain sufferers to use cannabis in the way that works for them is the right thing to do, and just doing otherwise is just going to encourage more black market supply and continued criminalisation of people whose only crime is pain. And that was your input this morning.
Oh, good. Thank you, Andrew. A very concise presentation. I'll pass to my colleague, Matt Ducey, and then Angie if they have any comments or questions.
Thanks for your submission, and thank you for making it very succinct and to the point. Just to your point about, can you take me back through taking cannabis out of the misuse of drugs classification?
At the moment, cannabis and cannabis seed is, I think, a class C drug.
Yeah.
Removing that off the schedule, and we wouldn't need any of this issue at all. still the same rules for alcohol. For example, I can brew my own alcohol at home, but I can't sell it without a license, for example. That we can use legislation to prevent alcohol being utilised in some areas of town. We can do the same thing with cannabis, so people couldn't just smoke it on the street.
Yeah, this bill was talking about descheduling CBD. You don't think that's going far enough?
CBD on its own is useful for things such as nausea control and seizures, but the main I'm sorry, there's a huge echo on the line.
Sorry, that's the nature of our technology.
Yeah.
But
not for us though, not for us, we can hear you perfectly, so that's good.
So CBD is one part of up to 80 different effective chemicals within the cannabis plant. CBD extracting it only has a very limited range of uses for a limited range of conditions. For example, nausea and seizures, CBD is effective for, whereas the CBD-THC combination is the best combination for pain control. I've suffered chronic pain on a scale of 7 to 9 for the last 4 years. And the medicines that I've been given through pharmacy go up as high as tramadol, which has got some horrible side effects.
good.
So the side effects related to cannabis are virtually zero. The worst part of cannabis is that it's like being inebriated drunk, and we allow that particular chemical into our systems on a daily basis if we want.
Good, thank you. Angie?
Just a question on, you've talked in your submission about a medical card, and just wanted to for you to explore that a little bit more around...
So I'll get you to just rephrase that first part. I put in my submission about a medical plan.
Sorry, a card for users of...
Sure. So if I remember this rightly, one of the concerns listed before any of this started was that there were so many chronic pain users. How would we stop anybody that twinges their back from using cannabis as a pain relief and getting pseudo-legalized by allowing so many people who are in pain to use this particular plant? And I felt that a card system would allow doctors to basically register pain, people who are using it legally for pain use, rather than those that are just caught with cannabis and said, oh, I'll put my hand back. If that makes sense.
Right, okay, thank you. That does make sense.
Good. This was a very good submission, Andrew. Thank you very much, and we'll certainly take on board the comments that you've given us.
Good, thank you. I'd just like to see that people in the cannabis community stop being arrested for using pain control.
Understood. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, who are we to now? Okay. Good morning, Max. Shane Reti speaking. How are you?
Yes, fine, thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Max. Let me just briefly do the introductions. Myself as Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee, Matt Ducey and Angie Warren-Clark as MPs on the Select Committee as well. We have your submission in front of us, Max. Take it as read. We have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The time is yours. Please go ahead, Max.
Okay, yeah. I think it's fairly self-evident in the material that I've provided that
consider that the bill falls short in a number of regards. And the recommendations that I outlined there basically call for consideration of a number of other measures that I believe would more adequately address the intent of the bill, which is said to be driven by compassion and concern. I think my major concern is that people are still exposed to considerable uncertainty and fear. They can still be charged even if there is a grounds for offence, statutory grounds. And also it doesn't extend to many other medical conditions that can benefit or people believe can benefit from the use of cannabis or cannabis-derived products. So essentially we're calling for an extension of the bill to other conditions and also to remove the fear of prosecution by actually allowing it to be these substances used legally under medical advice. And longer term, it's important, I think, to put in place a mechanism that can provide more ready access to cannabis and other cannabis-derived products. There's some provision for that in the bill. There's no guarantee that it will actually happen or when it will happen. So I think there's some things there that could be tightened up and modified.
Good, thank you, Max. Are you able to take questions?
Well, certainly.
Yeah, good, thank you. So you're in a unique position with your background with the Mental Health Foundation, and those submitters or others who might have either reasonable or unreasonable concern for the induction of psychoses and other such issues, you're uniquely qualified to speak to that. Is that anything we should be unduly concerned with?
No, I think that's well, clearly people who have or at risk of some psychotic conditions, cannabis use, heavy cannabis use can aggravate their conditions. So that wouldn't be indicated in terms, clinically. Nobody has ever sort of died from overdose of cannabis. So in that sense, it's safer than a lot of medicines that are currently prescribed. One of the interesting findings, actually, is that there's some indication that where medicinal cannabis has been made readily available, there's actually been lower rates of opioid misuse. I think that's an interesting finding. GPs frequently prescribe opioids for pain when it's really not indicated, except in the case of some cancer-related pains. And it's a major problem in this country. And I think cannabis could actually contribute in a positive way there. But, that's something that has to be evaluated and monitored.
It's very helpful, Max. I'll pass you to Matt Ducey and then to Angie Warren-Clark. Matt.
Morning, Professor. Just following along that the line about the uniqueness every submitter makes, and one good thing about the submission process is everyone has very good ideas that add value to working through the issues of this bill. Something that I think you might be able to talk to based on your professional background is your reference to the regulations. And as we know, it's pretty light in detail. There'll be an argument for maybe it going too quick, and in some case, maybe your argument, if I read right, talking about it taking too long. I mean, what would you like to see around that space of the regulations?
Well, I think that will take time to work through. I would like I've been supportive or suggested here that the time frame be provided.
Yeah.
Within 12 months to outline how the supply could be provided. I think it needs to move along, but I accept that it will take some time to sort that through. I think it is important in the meantime, though, that we that we actually remove. I mean, it's still actually, and it remains an offence. I mean, you can still be charged. And my concern is to remove that so that it's not an offence to possess small amounts for your own use for a medically approved condition, and that should be wider than judging something eternally on, which likewise is a difficult thing to be able to predict with any certainty anyway.
Mm. Thanks, Professor.
Thank you, Max. Angie?
Thank you for allowing the time.
We're doing fine. We'll make this the last question from Angie. Go ahead.
Just a very quick question. Thank you for your submission. In your conclusion, you've talked about a recent meta-analysis found that, and that's found that legalising medicinal cannabis use does not increase adolescent use, etc. Would you be able to give us the notation for that or the reference for that? I'd be interested in reading that analysis.
Are you there, Max? Have we been disconnected? We have. Okay, can we get that question back to Max? The question was the reference to...
a recent meta-analysis of the relevant studies around legalising medicinal cannabis, and it speaks to not increasing the use by adolescents. Just an interesting piece of research, I feel.
I agree. Can we write to Max and first of all apologise, somehow our communication got cut off, and secondly, if you'd be kind enough to forward to the clerk that reference?
Can you tell me what page that is? The last page, of the submission, and it's in conclusion. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Who is our next person?
There's one more teleconference.
Good.
It's Jeanette Saxby.
All good. Yeah, hello, are you there, Jeanette? Yeah, hi Jeanette, this is Dr Shane Reti, Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. Around the table this morning we have MPs Matt Ducey and Angie Warren-Clark. Thank you very much for calling in this morning. We have your submission in front of us. Please take it as read. The time is yours, Jeanette. Please go ahead. I'll give you a notice with a minute's warning, so please proceed.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I'm a drug and alcohol counsellor, a drug addiction clinician, and I've spent 35 years involved watching people use cannabis because I'm 53 years old, and I have not seen the harms from cannabis that I've ever seen from either prescription and prescribed medication and illicit drugs that people have ingested. I've been living in the States, I've been back and forth working with Dr Beerman as a clinician, and I've noticed that cannabis is a useful medicine that is not being utilised properly in this country. And instead we have a regime where we criminalise and prosecute people for cannabis, and that has an effect on people's mental health, and it has an effect on our suicide rate. So my submission covers 3 points to the proposed bill, and it suggests that the bill really doesn't do what it proposes. So to provide a statutory defence in court for a terminal patient, that's just cruel. A terminal patient should never even be before the court about that only. And a terminal patient has the right to use any medicine under the original charter, because that's what our medicine says, is that a patient has the right to choose their own course of treatment. So people in New Zealand are not being supported in their right to use a medicinal plant. And I spent 7 months on home detention. I've done 400 hours of community service, and I'll never probably work again, because the law states that this plant was a criminal issue, and therefore I'm a criminal, and yet I've probably helped 400 people with opiate addiction. I want to sink into you that 400 people have come off their prescribed drugs, opiates, tramadol, gabapentin, oxy, and codeine through using a cannabis product that I've been making and supplying. So I did my formal training on the Borough Hospital on a Medicine program, and I saw a lot of people were being denied access to treatment if they used cannabis. And yet, doing a study, which I couldn't get clinical approval for or ethical approval for, so I ditched my course and didn't finish a degree because there was no way I could prove any scientific study because the ethics committee will not give approval to do a study. So we go round and round in circles, and this happened at 2000. So in 2001, 2002, I studied the Drug and Alcohol Commission. So a meta-analysis of all the scholarly principles passed in documents and removal punishment came to the conclusion that our jails are full of people, our courts are full of people, we're putting antibiotics on people that are helping others, we're locking up their theories, and we're locking up people who are growing medicine to treat themselves and others. I don't have a problem with gangs. Gangs are people who form groups because society has treated them as outcasts. They haven't got fathers, they haven't got support. We do not live in a supportive society, so people do turn to drugs. I've been a 20-year veteran of cannabis activism, and in that time I've written many, many papers. I've appeared in civil committees. I've talked at the Cutting Edge Conference, and it may as well be 2007 because there's been a lack of progress in the last 10 years. We've had 2 inquiries, the Health Select Committees, mental health and best outcomes for cannabis, and yet I don't see anything happening. I've lived in America and Australia, so I've seen different legal laws, and I've never even seen the sky fallen when cannabis is legal. I've been in Denver and I've been in California multiple times, and I don't see a problem. We do have a drug problem in this country, and it's mess. And what we're doing is picking on cannabis people and pretending there's a mess, that they're somehow mess related. They're separate drugs, they're separate people, that they work differently. You don't see cannabis hitting people wanting to sell meth. It doesn't happen. What I wanted to do was hopefully that you would ask questions.
Good.
We have the as far as people to possess and use illicit cannabis, that's just cruel because they're already sick. They don't need any more stress. The regulation making power to enable the setting of standards. Why don't we have testing? Why don't we have a cannabis lab testing? That's what happens in America. You send your cannabis into a lab, costs $40, and within about 24 to 48 hours, they give you a printout. They tell you this is high THC, low CBD, or high CBD, low THC. This cannabis has got moisture or mold or pesticides. They can do that. So there's no harm for the public with the product being dirty, tainted, or any of those things that sometimes people want to cloudy the waters by saying, oh, you can't have cannabis unless it's tested.
Jeanette,
What are we testing for? Because no one's ever died from cannabis. No one's even overdosed.
Jeanette, we have reached our time. I will just go around the committee to ask if there are any brief questions. Matt Ducey?
Just first, thank you for your submission, Jeanette, and I take your point about the regulations, and I think it's probably a common theme that there needs to be a lot more detail, because I suppose when there is a lot...
We've got smoke-free areas and liquor bans. Isn't that the same? If you have a smoke-free ban or a smoke-free area, you can have a smoke-free cannabis area. You've got a liquor ban in where I live in Tauranga and all that area. So why not have a cannabis ban? The regulation already exists. You don't need to come up with a new... You're not inventing the wheel.
Thank you. Angie,
Can I finish that off?
okay, Matt, you might have the last question.
I suppose that was my point. Because the bill was very silent on regulation, we don't know whether we are enacting current regulation or developing new regulation. My point or my question, I just noticed in your submission summary, I've probably lost it now. Hold on a sec, sorry. The cannabis is safe for use in the general population.
Yep.
So would you include young people in that general population?
I would give it to animals, children, and pets.
Okay.
And I have. I've treated a dog with
He's an
drugs.
addiction clinician.
I've put a cream on a child with chickenpox and no scars.
Thank you.
This is a medicine. It's been a medicine for 2,000 years.
Good. Thank you, Jeanette. Last question, Angie Warren-Clark.
Very quick question. Thank you for your submission. Are you aware of any dose ratio guidelines out there in the world? That
Yes, there is.
Yep.
There's quite specific dose ratios. 1 to 2 grams a day of flowers is what's recommended
1 to 2 grams of what,
a
sorry?
day for a patient if they're vaping.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that's come straight from American doctors.
Very good, Jeanette. Thank you very much. We'll certainly take on board what you've told us this morning. Thank you again.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye. Good. Excellent. Who are we seeing next, if you know?
So Scott or Katy?
Yeah, sure. Is Scott Rasmussen here? Hello, Scott. Would you like to come up to the table? Hi, we're doing good, thank you. Come on up to the table, if you would. You'll be able to pick them up from this microphone. I think actually that one down the end,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind, Scott, our microphone specifically, pick it up easier. Either seat you like would be fine. Scott, do we have a written submission from you?
You do. It's quite a long one.
Okay, then if you'll excuse us, if we're going
Oh,
here,
yeah.
it's because it's online, so it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that we're not paying attention, but it's online.
That's right.
Scott, my name's Dr. Shane Reti, Deputy Chair. To my left we have Matt Ducey, MP, and to my right we have Angie Warren-Clark. Thank you very much for coming and joining us this morning. You've heard the format.
Yes.
I'll give you a notice with a minute to go, but Scott, we're in your hands.
Cool. So I guess you guys have heard a lot from many different people, many much more knowledgeable, much smarter than myself. I'm not here as someone who has any intention of using this. To be honest, 2 years ago, I never even thought I'd be sitting here. But opioid addiction came to my front door from my brother through prescription oxycodone. And because of that, I've seen firsthand someone who does use cannabis medicinally to have normalcy, to be able to come back and contribute to society. Now, 2 years clean, he uses cannabis for anxiety, severe anxiety. And with this, he works 2 jobs, he's starting his own business, he's back, he's off the disability benefit, he contributes to society. I've seen firsthand the positive effects. I come from a medical family, so I know very much the risks on the other side as well. But compared to the positives, the risks are minor, especially when we do compare it to other types of painkillers, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and opioids. So from my point of view, I'm a little bit different in that I see a problem here in that people who use cannabis medicinally can't get it. And that's something that I'm looking at personally solving, first and foremost for my family, so that if they do require it, my grandmother terminal with cancer right now, my brother who uses it medicinally, that they will have access to product within New Zealand, grown here, high quality, lab tested, fully controlled.
Good. Questions? Matt?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for quite a comprehensive submission.
That's good.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you have your chance to have your oral submission today, but in fact it's the written submissions also that the advisors will go through and collate the departmental report that comes back to the Select Committee, so it's very important. So I suppose you've spoken to the nub of some of the arguments and the tension around this debate, so it's understanding the medical benefits of it, weighing up versus, I suppose, the psychoactive risks.
Yeah.
And you've obviously seen quite a benefit for it to people that you know.
Definitely. And if we look at it from actual scientific literature, actual clinical studies, we know that the side effect profile of cannabis is much lower than that of comparative opioids. And we see that GW Pharma have patents pending and applications for cannabis as a medicine going through FDA approval. Their clinical trials have shown, in some cases, insane results for effectiveness for conditions like epilepsy.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not like it's hearsay. I mean, there are clinical trials, there are legitimate studies that show that it is effective with a very small side effect profile.
Because I think you're putting a very good argument for, because you're actually not advocating for decriminalisation or legalisation, are you?
No, yeah. I think that it's weird that we would consider it as a medicine any different to any other medicine.
Yeah.
Our doctors trained for nearly a decade to be able to provide the best healthcare to their patients, but through legislation they're unable to do so in many instances because cannabis has been criminalised.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at purely from that medical point of view.
Yeah, so it's getting the regulations right, the settings right.
Very
I
much.
mean, there was some arguments even at one of the previous select committees around CBD, where they would deschedule it, yeah, but just make it, universally accessible. Be something like go into your pharmacy, complementary alternative therapy type product that's just anyone can pick up.
Yeah, and I think important, not just CBD, but the other CBG, CBN, THC, THCV. These all have known, studied, proven medical benefits. CBD itself is most effective when mixed with THC, for example, as it can counteract the psychoactive properties. So it's not just CBD.
So overall, you think this bill's heading in the right direction?
Not as it's written right now.
Yeah. What would you change?
The statutory defence has to be made available to anyone who has a chronic condition, someone with multiple sclerosis, with epilepsy, severe anxiety. These people have to be covered as well.
Yeah.
My grandmother's terminal. She doesn't care about the statutory defence. Like, let's be fair. It's the last thing she cares about. No one in my family would think twice about getting her cannabis.
Yeah.
For her, it doesn't provide anything. It doesn't provide any dignity. The dignity for her comes through being able to sit down and have a meal with her family, with her friends, without being nauseous, having an appetite. Being able to laugh and being able to pretend like you're not dying, you're not sick.
What's your response to? Sorry if you don't mind. What's your response to the pushback that if we go down the chronic pain route, chronic pain's very hard to define.
For sure.
I think there's some sort of anecdote. You'll get a lot of sort of 20-something white guys turning up saying they got sore backs.
Yeah.
How do you manage that sort of issue?
I mean, that exists today with opioids. But, I mean, we trust our doctors today with opioids, which are much more dangerous than cannabis. These guys have, nearly a decade of training. We should trust them with something that is safer than opioids. It's their job. It's as a society, that's the position and the power that we give them. It's not something that should be regulated away from them.
Scott, this was a very good submission.
Yes.
Thank you, very detailed, good review of the international literature. Not too many people mention the Legatum Index, so you spent some time on this, so well done. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Good. Who do we have next? Katy, please.
Very good.
Good morning. Hey? Okay.
Good morning.
Hi. I'm Morena Koto. I think he's just being gathered from outside. Hi Liz, how are you? Yeah, that's all right, we understood. Thanks for flagging it with us. Good morning, is it Katy?
Yes.
Oh, hi Katy, please come up to the table. Yeah. Katy, you've heard the format. My name's Dr. Shane Reti. We have Matt Ducey, Angie Warren-Clark, and Dr. Liz Craig with us as well.
Hi.
Hi. Please take it as read that we've read your submission. The time is yours. You have 5 minutes. I'll give you an indication as we get close to the end. But the time is yours, Katy. Please go ahead and eat the microphone.
Okay. Hi, my name is Katy, and this is Eddie.
Hey.
Hey, Eddie. What's that?
That's a microphone, my friend. Your mummy's going to tell us maybe about you, I suspect. But go ahead.
A little bit about Edward, but it's also about me. So I didn't really include anything about myself in the submission because I just concentrated on the change in Edward's life. Yes, my love.
Where's Granddad?
Granddad's just if you want to go and say hi to Granddad, my background is I'm a TV presenter. I used to be a
the editor and owner of an international magazine called Luxury Living. I'm educated, I'm professional. My parents are here with me, so is my aunt. My aunt works at Auckland Hospital. Prior to that, she worked for the St John's Ambulance and the Territorial Army. My stepdad is ex-police and he's a lawyer. My mum is the chairperson of many Catholic boards and she works in aged care. I'm really concerned that a lot of the rhetoric seems to be around sort of criminalising patients, and personally it's been a challenge because I was really concerned that Edward's seizures were going from a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes to then it was 7 minutes, then 11 minutes, and we were pushed down a path that was actually exacerbating his condition. But I was too scared to explore medicinal marijuana because of my own preconceptions and because I didn't want to dope my baby. And if the rhetoric around it had been different, I would have acted earlier and we wouldn't have spent so much time in ED. We wouldn't have had to catch so many ambulances. A year ago, Edward was the subject of the Royal Australian Physicians exam for paediatricians who are going to specialise as doctors later on. And Edward was examined with global development delay and given an average age of 1. And he was 2.5 at the time. He couldn't run, jump, string more than 2 words together. His behaviour and overall self-care he was basically a 1-year-old. Since I started using CBD, as you can see, he can walk, run, talk, jump. He wears a little Batman suit that he wanted to wear today to feel brave. It has flashing lights. A year ago, that would never have been possible for him because it just would have been a trigger and that would have been it. He also wouldn't have been able to cope with seeing this many people in the room. Instead, as you can see, he's just excited and kind of wants to play. And I feel as though the law as it currently stands and the amendments that are being proposed are missing out on serving the majority of people. I lost a cousin a month ago to suicide. It was a huge surprise. He was studying here in Wellington. He was very close to finishing his law degree at Victoria University. He was popular, athletic, talented, gifted, had everything going for him. And if we look at the suicide statistics for this country and we look at how many people are suffering from depression, anxiety, I myself suffer from depression and anxiety. It's situational, obviously, and because also I'm severely sleep deprived watching this guy all night, every night. But I can't... You can look at the la la la, and if you want to sing them a song, they would love that. I can't take the lorazepam that's prescribed to me for the panic attacks that I've started suffering since Edward started having epilepsy, because as it metabolizes in my body, if my sleep is disrupted, I become irate to the point of aggressive, which I cannot ever become. It's just not a risk that I'm prepared to take for Edward. But unfortunately, there has been an occasion in the last year where Edward has had a seizure, and I have also been paralytic on the ground with a panic attack. I'm unable to help myself. And I don't think I'm alone. I think caregiver stress is something that the majority of caregivers suffer. And even with respite care, it's never going to be enough because it's a 24/7 job. You don't, even when you're given a break, you still have to go back on the clock. And I think that opioids and benzos, and I can't, if I wanted to go to work and take them, I wouldn't, because they make me feel out of it. And it's just not professional, and it's not something I can do. So I walk this really fine line when I do show up to work that, what if I have an anxiety attack? What if I have a panic attack? And, that could be my last job, or especially with Edward and his care. Yeah, you can go to one there.
Katie, can you take a few questions?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. I might pass to Angie Warren-Clark.
Well, thank you for your submission and for bringing all your family here, and your little fella. He's looks like he's having a good time today. First and foremost, yeah, thank you for your story and for sharing that with us. In terms of the CBD cannabinoids, do you believe that cannabis that it should be a fully subsidised system, access to, or do you believe that it should be regulated through doctors?
Look, I honestly think that if you can fully subsidise it, that would be ideal, because currently I'm spending thousands, and I know very few people who can afford to do that, especially if you're in full-time care. And I'm not even talking about terminal patients. Like, there's such a broad spectrum of people that can be helped. You know, it can be mental health, it could be like a neurodegenerative disease and mitochondrial disorders, and people like Edward who have an unnamed genetic condition that we still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. So fully subsidised would be amazing. But the reality is, like for Edward, he has to have an organic diet, because we've found that some sprays and some additives can give him seizures. So my solution to that is I grow his own vegetables and I cook his own food. I should be able to do that with his medicine as well, because the only way I can really control what's going into him and the quality of it is if I make it myself. And, you know, I feel like the majority of patients should be able to look after themselves, or their caregivers should be able to look after themselves as well, because what I have learned is that CBD in itself, as an extract, as an isolate, is not enough. Edward needs the whole plant extract. And what I would love to be able to do is just put it in his smoothies, put it into his food, make a salad, make a soup, and just give it to him raw, because the more I read about it as a raw plant, it seems like a superfood. It seems like the stuff that I'm giving him anyway. And when I purchase it, I'm really taking the person who's made it they're given that there's no THC in it, but we know that with decarboxylation, you're heating the plant and it degrades over time anyway. So if there's even like a small percentage of THC and it's old, do you know what I mean? Whereas if I made it myself, it was fresh, then there's no chance. There's absolutely no chance. But when you're buying it from other people and it's coming from overseas, we've been caught short many times, and those times have just been horrific, because you don't know when it's going to end.
Liz, last question with you.
So, just thinking through what you're saying, that the legislation as currently proposed, you think is too narrow and doesn't serve the needs. So, just highlighting again what your key recommendations would be to this group in terms of changes.
I think that patients should be able to grow it themselves, and I'm sure if there are concerns around that, you guys can form some really robust laws to make sure that everybody's needs are met. And we're not talking about like grow a whole farm, we're just talking about enough to keep going so that we're never caught short. Full subsidisation would be fantastic, because I mean, Edward, as it currently stands, I'm spending thousands of dollars on. He only weighs 14 kilos, and his dad was tall and big. So his consumption's only going to go up over time. And you know, if you're treating adult patients, I assume that their consumption is higher as well. And when you're bringing it in from overseas, you know, you're always paying a premium. So, yeah, I think subsidies would be fantastic. And I do think we should be able to grow it ourselves, just like any other vegetable or plant.
Matt's pointed out a unique perspective you have, so Matt, you do have the last say.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to ask if you could talk a bit more. You're probably one of the few people we've spoken to. You've actually made an active decision as a parent to take Edward off pharmaceutical medication.
Yeah.
So that's. I'm just interested in how that played out with your relationship with the medical staff you're engaging with, and what that looks like for someone faced with that.
It's not fun. It's really not, but I've always been a terrible liar. So I didn't really have the choice. I was always completely honest with them, and I kept them up to date. So every time I met with our overseer, so Edward has a ton of doctors, and every time I met them, I explained to them that I was always exploring other natural therapies. So Edward sees an osteopath, he sees a cranial sacral therapist. We've always been exploring different diets and lifestyle options and exercise. And, Edward doesn't screen, he doesn't watch TV, so I always kept them up to date with what I was doing with Edward, and I just kept reiterating how unhappy I was with the results I was seeing with the medication as we were titrating him up. And also I was documenting everything. I've documented pretty much every minute and day of Edward's life since he was alive. So I had videos and medical notes of his seizures, and it was really clear that the medicines weren't meeting his needs and they were exacerbating his condition. And Edward's wellness was going down, his weight was going down, his cognitive function was going down, his coordination was going down, 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 down. My calls to the hospital were going up, my visits to the doctors were going up, and I'm not sure that they were happy when I said that I was taking him off the medication, but they knew that was the road I was going down because I'd exhausted every other option that was available to me, and over a period of time. So it was over a long period of time, and for me, the risk of losing Edward just far outweighed just towing the line and, giving him what I was told to give him. And then, a month later, I was ratified by my decision by our own neurologist. So, it's incredibly difficult when you get so much pushback from your GPs, from your doctors, from the experts in your community, but they've also since come back to me and said that they want to learn more, and I've seen those same doctors at health conferences, and they're not to know, because I think the endocannabinoid system was only discovered in 1990, so if you've been practicing, for a long time before that, it just wasn't part of your qualification when you study to become a doctor. It's not their fault, but, we know more now, and it is a really gentle, safe therapy, and, just the fact that you can't die from it. I was just so scared and terrified that, Edward would become an Alex Renton, and he's my greatest achievement. I can't afford to lose him. And I don't want any other parents to have to lose their child. I think if you focus on the negatives, you're going to miss the opportunity to save so many people, so many children like Edward. He's got a bulldog for a mum. I'm like a dog with a bone. I don't let something go. But not every mum has that. And, if you've got multiple kids and multiple kids with special needs, you probably don't have the wherewithal, the energy, or, I was lucky enough to have people sending me, randomized clinical trials. I had people sending me medical information, and they wore me down whilst Edward was in hospital. And I was just so tired and sick of Edward being sick. And as soon as I tried it, it worked. I have a video on my phone that I can show you. It's instantaneous. As soon as you put it in his mouth in the middle of a seizure, it stops it. And he has epilepsy, but I'm pretty sure it has therapeutic benefits for a whole bunch of other things. My understanding is so narrow, but I think the applications are really broad, and you guys have so much power here to help so many people. We may do something.
Katy, thank you very much for coming in today. Thank you for bringing in Edward. I understand that. Thank you for also bringing in your support team. Now you're going to get us upset. Don't go there.
I thought there was only going
Don't even
to be
start.
3.
Thank
so
you.
I'm sorry, I only bought 3.
You want us all to be upset? Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. You get it with the signing for us if you would, please, eh? There's a pen. Thanks. Okay, well, we need to keep moving just to the committee. I will actually rotate the questions around if you're okay, committee. I'll do my best effort to sort of spread them around, but we do need to...
I was ready for me to go first.
I know, we do need to respect other people's time. Thank you very much. Now, do we have Amanda? Yes, do we have... Is she? Okay, let's do that. We'll go to Jeanette Kelso on teleconference committee.
Kelly's a crane. We're going to the docks.
That's all right.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, when you're ready, how Pachita? Yeah, hi Jenny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, hi, we'll just turn our volume up a little bit if we can. Jenny, my name's Dr. Shane Reti, Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. Around the table today we have MPs Matt Ducey, Angie Warren-Clark and Liz Craig. Thank you very much for calling in this morning. Please take as read that we've read your submission. The time is yours. You have 5 minutes. I'll give you an indication close to the end, but thank you again, and please go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak to the submission. Firstly, I want to say I'm not a drug user myself, and I have no intention or desire to use cannabis. I don't use any drugs, and I don't use hardly any alcohol either. But I do think that we need to really consider using cannabis in New Zealand as an alternative medical drug in particular. We've all grown up with this sort of attitude or fear of cannabis as being something really scary and, like a really hard drug, but actually it's a plant, and it's got a lot of, I understand it's got a lot of really powerful medical properties. So, opioids have been used as painkillers for millennia, probably back till about the 4th century BC. And it's really, opioids are an essential painkiller, and I think cannabis is just another useful painkiller that, really should be available to doctors to use if they think it's appropriate. So my request to the Select Committee is to, as a bare minimum, really strongly and seriously consider making cannabis available as a medical drug for doctors to prescribe for people who need it. And secondly, many countries overseas have decriminalised cannabis for recreational use, and I think it's actually time in New Zealand that we consider that too. In my own personal opinion, I think it's possibly less harmful than alcohol as a recreational drug. Alcohol tends to make people very aggressive and causes an awful lot of violence towards women and children. Cannabis, on the other hand, tends to have the opposite effect. It tends to make people very calm and peaceful. So, I think we need to consider that. I understand and realise that there are potential problems with that, and we need to be very careful, in particular with young people, because the Dunedin study has shown that cannabis may be harmful to the young developing brain and teenagers and adolescents. But, overall, I think we really need to open up our attitudes in New Zealand. I think we're a bit behind the times. Many states in America have decriminalised it or legalised cannabis for certain uses. And, just really encourage you to try and put aside prejudices that we have grown up with about cannabis and really consider it at least for medicinal properties. There's a massive increase in cancer in our society in particular. Seems to be, lots of people getting it these days, and I think it potentially has quite powerful medicinal properties for the treatment of cancer. So, for that alone,
I'd really like to see some research, or maybe we can learn from overseas research and just, really consider the potential that this plant has to make in our society. So that's really all I wanted to say. Yeah, thanks for considering our submissions, and thanks for your time, and good luck with the decision. But there are models overseas that we can follow. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Thank you, Jenny. This was a good presentation. I'm going to pass the question to Dr. Liz Craig.
So thanks for your presentation. It looks like you've done quite a bit of research. What's your sense of, some of the things that we're thinking about at the moment is, broadening the legislation. What's your sense of what kind of conditions we should be using it for, and what evidence you've seen that it's effective in those cases?
It was very difficult to hear your question. I think it was something about broadening the legislation.
Yeah. What's your impression of, just in terms of the reading you've done and the people you've spoken to, about what the usefulness of medical cannabis is in a range of conditions, in terms of the feedback you've got, weighing up against potential side effects?
Yeah, obviously we need to be careful, and it is a drug, so obviously it needs to be controlled. But doctors are completely capable of deciding in which situations it's appropriate and in which situations it's not appropriate. And one thing we could do immediately is to allow doctors to prescribe. It is being produced overseas already in a controlled manner, and so we could make those overseas products available to New Zealand people who need it. And then, unfortunately, that's a very expensive option. So I would like to see, cannabis being produced, cannabis products for medicine being produced in New Zealand. So hopefully that will bring the price down and make it more affordable. So we do need to be careful because it is a drug, but just particularly for medicinal use, I just think it has enormous potential, and as a plant it can be grown relatively cheaply. So yeah, I'm no expert, but I'm not claiming to be an expert at all, but I just wanted to make a heartfelt plea for the committee to really strongly consider this and not just write it off. I think it has huge potential.
Jenny, thank you very much for your submission. We'll certainly take on board what you've told us this morning, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Okay, bye-bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Good. Who do we have next?
So I don't think the man Corbett has arrived. So
Yeah.
the next person will be Richard Cruice by teleconference.
Yeah, ready when you are. Good morning. Can you hear me, Richard?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, hello, Richard. This is Dr. Shane Reti, Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. Around the table this morning we have MPs Matt Ducey, Angie Warren-Clark and Dr. Liz Craig. Thank you very much for dialing in this morning. Please take it as read that we have read your submission, and the time is yours. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This is the first time I've done this. It's rather intimidating. I guess the first thing I wanted to say is that personally I know a lot of people who would love to have participated in this process, but the intimidation has been too much for them. I'd like to bring your attention to one aspect of, I suppose, popular knowledge you would call it about cannabis, the paranoia paradox, where the use of cannabis has been long promoted as having a paranoia effect on the user. That's something I was taught about in primary school by Dare. I think with the changes in legislation around the world, and particularly the United States, where a lot of medicinal legislation is being opened up, and also the recreational side, that paradox is starting to show through that the paranoia may not be so much associated with the drug use so much as the prosecution and the effective caging of humans for the use of the plant. I really wanted to speak to this committee today because I felt really let down by our supposed representative government in the failing of the more practical medical cannabis bill that had grow your own provisions. I don't know the stats because they're constantly changing, but there was a huge percentage of every poll in New Zealand, the humans who live here, who politicians supposedly represent, who wanted it, and we weren't represented. So I guess I'm not coming as a terminal patient who's going to make any gains out of the current legislation, and I think the pharmaceutical sponsored model, by where we take the longest possible time and require really the smallest amount of players have the greater prospects of entering the marketplace for this plant is, it's really quite an insult to the average Kiwi who we're a nation of do-it-yourself people. I'm a farmer, that's what I'm doing. I'd love to get out there and participate in this global marketplace of medicine. The pace that we're going leaves me no opportunity for that. I only farm 25 acres. It's very similar to the dairy industry where the slowly approach is facilitating the massive global players to dominate the market. Public opinion is not really a matter of whether we will have a cannabis industry in this country. It's really a matter of the shape that industry will take. And having talked to you guys about a bill that restricts things to the state that it does and the shooting down of the grow your own provisions, it's just that signal that the global money is winning, isn't it? It's frustrating and all buggery for someone like myself because throughout my life I've had rugby injuries as a teenager and I've effectively arthritis ridden in my 30s, but I can have a smoke after I've done a day's work, get up and be very productive. But the legislation and the not allowing me to use a plant that I can and have grown myself to mitigate those symptoms has effectively excluded me from the workplace. Me personally, you've taken from someone who could be at no cost to the government, growing myself a plant privately in my backyard, getting up and going to work and being a productive member of society, paying taxes every day, to someone who, to be honest with you, the last decade I've spent the better part of it on welfare because I had the option of either having a smoke in the afternoon if I've worked hard and getting up in the morning functional, or if I didn't have that, I'll hobble around till about midday. And unfortunately, in the society where politicians decide that a plant is illegal, that has rendered me unemployable.
Richard, we have reached the conclusion. Do you want to leave a summary point with us? We have got your very good submission in front of us.
Yeah, no, the summary point I'd like to make is you get to choose whether people like me become part of active and positive parts of your economy or whether I become part of the black market economy. That's where I've spent the last 10 years, and the longer you stick around and stop me growing my own medicine, the longer you keep me in the black market. Your call. Thank you very much for your time.
Understood, and thank you as well, Richard.
Cheers. See ya.
Thanks, Ian. Good. Nikita, who do we have next?
And John, this
no problem. Anne Johns is our next person. We good? Yes, we'll keep moving if we can, thanks. The next one will be Koji Mizuki. Good morning, Geoffrey. Can you hear me? Yeah, hi, Geoffrey. This is Dr. Shane Reti, Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. Around the table this morning we have MPs Matt Ducey, Angie Warren-Clark and Dr. Liz Craig. Thank you very much for your submission. Please take it as read that we have read your submission. You have 5 minutes. I'll give you notice as we get to the end of that. But thank you again, and please go ahead, Geoffrey.
Yeah, look, only thing I really want to say on the whole matter is because I've had years and years of back problems and just been up and down with doctors and crikey. And because painkillers are such a hard thing too, because when you need the strength of like codeine or tramadol just to take the pain away, you've got other there's health issues and that obviously come along with those, but of course the painkillers themselves are actually very, very effective. And so I just personally think it would be a great thing, just in the side of pain relief, that if the CBD does work like people say it does, it was just something that I would like to see coming from someone that painkillers are just a daily thing for me now, really, and I suppose that they probably always will be, but having access to something that's not so hard on the body, I suppose you could say, would be a great thing. I really do think it would be a great thing.
Geoffrey, that's really helpful. Your submission's really helpful too. You certainly focus on the CBD component, and I noticed that in Eugene, Oregon, there are specialists there who are certainly cultivating and getting to very high levels of purity CBD. So it's an interesting point, as you say. might pass to Angie Warren-Clark for questions.
Yeah, thanks very much for your submission. You have also noted in your recommendation that THC does not get overlooked in the process. So, so we have CBD and we have cannabis. In your currently, cannabis is the product that seems to be working for you. Can you tell us a little bit about the effects of opioids on you?
Yeah, now, there's a funny thing, that one. Now, sorry, I couldn't quite hear you, but you wanted to know more the effects of the opioids?
Yes, so I see here that you've used more and more opioids, or opioids have become stronger over the years for you. Could you just have a little discussion about that?
Yeah, right. Now with the opioids, because I do a fairly physical job, although I'm trying to wean that off now. But with the opioids, I mean, when you're talking about let's talk about a 5-day work week. If I take nothing over the weekend and just rest, Monday and Tuesday I can take probably 90 mg up to 90 mg of codeine. Monday and Tuesday, you're okay there, but by Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, man, it just takes a lot out of you, basically. It just takes, even though it takes the pain away, but it certainly makes me feel, it doesn't boost my energy levels, put it that way. I think it goes the other way, more so than anything. And that in itself is quite hard. Not only are you physically exhausted, but you're also exhausted from your body just being constantly under painkillers, really, for want of better words. I hope that might help for the question in a way.
Thank you, yes.
Good. Thank you, Geoffrey. This has been a very good submission, very concise, and I think we get a good grasp of what you're suggesting to us, and we'll need to move quickly, but yes, you can.
Okay. Sorry,
that's great.
So let's see, just one follow-on question. In your submission, you just sort of mentioned that the medicinal cannabis has been useful for you, but you're also saying that there are some psychoactive effects. So can you just sort of explain, compared to opioids, what the medical cannabis does?
Oh, yeah, okay. Now, the side effects of opioids, basically opioids make me a hell of a lot higher than what cannabis does, in plain layman's terms. Basically, if I could smoke cannabis a week as opposed to taking my codeine and what have you, I would certainly I would have a heck of a lot more energy at the end of the week for one thing. But on saying that, I certainly will admit though that the cannabis itself isn't just by itself it doesn't work as well as a painkiller as what my opioids would, the likes of the codeine and what have you.
Okay, that's useful. Thanks.
Good. Thank you, Geoffrey. A very good submission. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good. Who are we looking at next?
Lorraine Harrod.
Good. Lorraine Harrod. Thank you, Lorraine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, hi, Lorraine. We might just turn our volume up at this end a little bit if we can. Lorraine, this is Dr. Shane Reti, Deputy Chair of the Health Select Committee. Around the table this morning we have MPs Matt Ducey, Elizabeth Warren-Clark, Angie Warren-Clark, and Liz Craig, Dr. Liz Craig. Thank you for your submission. Please take it as read that we have read what you've put in front of us. The time is yours. You have 5 minutes. I'll give you an indication as we get close to the end. But thank you again. Please go ahead.
Okay, I don't have much to add, but I just wanted to add, I think I put that I was 70 years old, but I just wanted to add that I'm not a hippie. I heard somebody recently say that these age concerned people were hippies. Well, I've never been a hippie. Actually, I don't drink and I've never smoked. However, I've seen the harm that can be caused by alcohol. And if alcohol is legal, I don't see why cannabis can be, because as I mentioned in my submission, I've got these 2 family members that are in extreme pain but can't have cannabis because it's illegal. Recently, I was at an event, a social event, which went down into a horrible fight. It was alcohol fueled. A young person later said to me, you know, if those people had been on cannabis, that wouldn't have happened. They would have been too chilled out. Be that as it may, I just wanted, from my age group, say that I just think that the problems that people go through for getting cannabis oil is wrong. It's very wrong. And just as we, years ago, you know, in the prohibition, alcohol was illegal, all that money and time being spent on marijuana now, and I think it's wrong. However, I'm even wanting, I think it should be decriminalised. I realise that age limit should be put on it, same as alcohol, and that's really all I've got to say. And I've never done a submission before in my life, but I've changed what I think after observing and reading stuff about all this. Thank you.
Lorraine, this has been a very good submission. Thank you very much. Questions? Angie, Liz, Matt, any questions? This has been so concise. We think we can take the grasp of what you've been telling us, Lorraine. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Let's give them one more shot if we can. And Johns? Yep. Okay, we'll keep moving then. We'll just try Koji Mizuki as well.